All right, we're good. So, without further.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you first up for being here today. I'm going to ask this. I know I don't need to practice this. Al Portray, what time is it?
It's Omni time!
That's the answer. Yes, folks, it's Omni time, and today marks another milestone in our rollout of Omni. A few introductions, first of all. We have, to my right, you've already heard from him, Al Portray. You'll be hearing from Al momentarily. He's our project director for Omni. With me also today, and Al will properly introduce them as Tim says, our colleagues from Visa, Dan Sanford from Visa, and also Abir Bhatia from Chase. I'm also delighted to have here today my friends and colleagues, Sarah Meyer, who's Chief Customer Officer, known to you all, Chief Customer Officer for New York City Transit. We also have here Brenda Giori, who is the Group Station Manager for this wonderful station, Penn Station. So first up, a big thank you. We couldn't do this, we couldn't do the rollout of Omni without great partners. And in Chase and Visa, we have the very best. They have been among the payment companies to invest so heavily in promoting contactless payments, which are critical to the success of the Omni system. And we're also here, though, today to celebrate the ongoing success of Omni. Beyond our wildest expectations, the public pilot has now ended. You recall that public pilot with 16 stations on the Lex line and the buses, the express buses on Staten Island. Well, we've moved beyond that now, and we're getting into the real business end of Omni rollout. So far, already, we have recorded over 4 million taps. And although this gentleman to my right was always confident, that exceeds our wildest expectations. People love Omni, they want Omni, they're taking it up with relish. So to me, this is a momentous occasion, and one that gets to the core of what we're here to do, which is to transform and modernize every aspect of New York City Transit. You know how we're doing that? The Fast Forward Plan, as part of the unprecedented capital program that our board just approved. And this is a transformation that's now happening across the whole of the MTA. And the reason I'm so glad to be here at Penn Station today is because this really does represent a milestone in the rollout of Omni, because we are now making Omni accessible to a whole new market, namely customers of Long Island Railroad, customers of New Jersey Transit, and customers of Amtrak. So they will now be able to benefit from Omni. We're also incredibly proud to be the first transit agency to launch, not to subsequently adopt, but to launch with the flexibility of an open loop system, meaning that you don't have to use a bespoke card. You can use your credit card. You can use like a customized watch. It's fantastic. You can use smart devices that you carry with you, so you don't need to buy anything in advance. And I speak as someone who saw Oyster come in London. I was involved in bringing in what's called Presto in Toronto, but they did not go straight to open payment. We are. So, you know, people often say the MTA is behind the times. We are leading the way on introducing a smart card right from the start, introducing a payment system that goes straight to contactless, straight to open loop. So why do people like Omni? Well, quite simply, it saves you time, and it's flexible, and it's easy, and it gives you, the customer, choice in how, when, and where you pay the fare. And as I always say to customers, the great thing about Omni is no need to line up, no more needing to go to machines, no more needing to remember to top your card up. You can set all that up to just happen automatically with an auto-load system. But Omni has other benefits as well. Another element of Fast Forward, as you know, is that we want to speed up, and we are speeding up service on our buses. And by going to all-door boarding, which Omni will enable, because we're going to put readers on all of the doors, aren't we, Al?
That's correct.
Yes, we are. All the doors will have readers on them. That means once that's done, we can go to all-door boarding, and that plus the bus lanes and everything else we're doing will also enable us to speed up our buses. And it will also enable the MTA to spend money on maintenance of machines, be they in stations, be they on the sidewalk, and basically create a better travel experience for customers so that you get to choose the device of your choice to move swiftly through our stations. So in short, Omni's not just a technological leap, It's a symbol, a living symbol, a visible symbol, a tangible symbol of how we're improving our customers' experience in every aspect, modernizing signaling, modernizing stations, making them accessible, but here today giving you a state-of-the-art payment system to help you move through our wonderful city of New York. So on that, I'm going to introduce you again, Al Pache, my friend, my colleague. He's the man that's got this on target. He's the man that's got it on budget. Al Pache, tell us where Omni's going next.
Thank you very much, Andy. I get all the credit. I don't deserve it. I've got a talented team. Wayne Leiden, Eddie Gia, just to name two guys that have been working extremely hard. Anthony Lamantia, Amy Linden. I got a shout out to the team. I've got a great partner in Cubic. Cubic has been a tremendous contractor. They've distinguished themselves on this project. We're proud to be with them. So I already told you what time it is. So you know it's Omni time. Now, do you know what Omni stands for? It's a quiz. Who knows? Guys, you're not doing your homework. Omni stands for One Metro New York. Now, beyond that, do you know how to tell if your card is contactless or not? Do you know what you need to look for to be able to tell if you can ride our system? This is all you need. You need a card that has a Wi-Fi insignia on it. This insignia on your credit, on your debit card, will immediately allow you to access our system simply and safely. Tap and go. And as Andy mentioned, state-of-the-art technology. The entire transaction is encrypted from end to end. No need to worry. You're safe. We don't sell your data. It's all secure. The process is 500 milliseconds per tap. No more misswipes. So your assignment is to go and look in your wallet and let me know you have one of these cards. If you don't, you call your bank. Chase Visa is here today. They've issued over 100 million cards in the last 12 months, 15 million in this area alone. If you don't have a contactless card, there is another option. Mobile wallets. Who has a mobile wallet? You got a phone? You got a mobile wallet. You got a wristwatch? You got a device. Wearables. It's all there for you. Now, they don't like me to talk too much without scripts, so I'm going to have to go back to the script. We're here today at 34th Street and Penn Station to jumpstart the expansion of Omni across the entire subway and bus system. We start with the 1, 2, and 3 and the A, C, and E turnstiles right here at Penn Station. This month, we will extend Omni along the 1 from 59th Street, Columbus Circle, down to South Ferry, including the 2, the 3 express stops from Times Square and 42nd to Chambers. This month, Omni will head up the Lex line, up to the Bronx. On the 4, from 59th Street to Woodlawn. On the 5, from 59th Street to 149th Street and the Grand Concourse. On the 6, from 51st to 125th Street. That's this month. This month, we will also activate turnstiles at Supton Boulevard, Parsons, Archer, and Queens, and we will now service JFK customers, which means Omni will be in 5 boroughs. We will also introduce Omni at 3 stations where many Staten Island bus customers transfer onto our subway. We will activate Omni at the 2 Staten Island railway stations where fares are collected, St. George and Tompkinsville, this month. So what about next month? Well, you can check with our omni.info website. Each month around the 15th, we will update the website with the next targeted stations. As we've said before, Omni is New York City Transit's first new fare payment system in over 25 years, and it will fully replace MetroCard by 2023. Omni will also replace the fare payment systems of the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. This will allow us a single fare payment system for all transit and commuter railroads. Omni is One Metro New York. We know there will be unanticipated challenges ahead as we roll out this new fare payment technology, but we've learned a great deal during the Omni pilot. We will have challenges, but based on the work we've done, they will be seamless. And that's why we are confident about completing this project on schedule and, most importantly, on budget. I also want to be clear. MetroCard and Omni will coexist over the next 3 years until Omni replaces all of the functionalities that MetroCard serves today. So, reduced fare customers, not to worry. Customers that pay with cash to buy MetroCards, not to worry. There will be functionalities introduced later in the project that will address all of the MetroCard services we provide today. MetroCard has been very good to us. However, like tokens, its time has finally come. I'm sad, I like tokens. Omni is a super nimble and high-tech system as there is anywhere in the world. Omni is the system New Yorkers deserve. Thank you to Chase and Visa for helping us drive contactless payments forward. You can now use credit, debit, or reloadable prepaid cards to pay your fare. Just check for the contactless logo I showed you earlier. And you can also use your smartphones and your wearables. Now, allow me to introduce from Chase, Abir Bhatia.
Thank you, Al. So, on behalf of Chase, I want to thank the MTA and Visa for their partnership in creating this amazing experience for New Yorkers to pay fast, secure, safely, and simply. We are really excited. There have been, as you heard, 4 million taps already on the MTA, and as more stations come online, we're really looking forward to our customers, our combined customers, using this feature more and more in the coming months and years. Personally, I'm also very excited. I commute in from New Jersey, so now I don't have to queue up every Monday morning to refill my Metro card. Also, I'm not going to miss my 6:20 train back home, so that's obviously a huge benefit for me personally. But I think a lot of people in New York City feel the same way. And as we continue to deploy this technology, we hope and we expect a lot of people to forget their Metro card and start using this new feature that is being launched, that has been launched, as being expanded today. As many of you know, JP Morgan Chase has been a part of New York City's infrastructure fabric for years. We financed the Brooklyn Bridge, the Statue of Liberty, and we are really excited to be here partnering with the MTA in this great effort to bring contactless payments to the MTA system. For those of you who are not familiar with it, we encourage you to go to chasetaptopay.com to learn more about this initiative. You can see the benefits out there, and you can understand the security and all the great features that this way of payment offers for consumers and for riders on the MTA system. So rather than taking more of your time, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague from Visa, Dan Sanford, to talk a little bit more about the experience.
Awesome. Well, my name is Dan Sanford. I oversee contactless payments for Visa globally. First of all, I just wanted to thank you all for having me here today. Thank you to our partners at MTA, Cubic, Chase. I really want to echo the sentiments that Al, Andy, and Abir mentioned today. This is an incredibly exciting moment for New Yorkers. The public pilot that we partnered with MTA and Cubic and Chase on, as Andy said, it blew all of our expectations. I mean, New Yorkers have quickly adopted this, and we really see this as transformational for New Yorkers, as we've seen in so many other places globally. You know, when we first started this project, and we really talked to the MTA and Cubic and Chase, we really expected New Yorkers to really gravitate toward this experience, as we've seen in so many other markets. But it's really just, it's blown away our expectations here. And as Andy said, one of the things that's most exciting is, you know, I don't know if we've ever done a project the size of MTA. It really is in the fabric of New Yorkers' life. And not just US cities around, you know, all over the country, but around the world. People are looking at what's happening right now in New York. They're looking at these Omni readers that Cubic's put in place. They're looking at this experience and they're saying, I want that. How can I get that? That's a great experience, and that really is a testament to the leadership from the MTA and Cubic and wanting to put these in place. And that adoption is happening. You know, we've partnered with our financial institutions, you know, really Chase leading the way. Nearly half of all New Yorkers' cards now actually support contactless, which is up from less than 10% last year. So more and more consumers are going to be able to walk into these terminals now and just be able to tap to pay, which is incredibly exciting. And over just the last year, we've actually seen the percentage of transactions in New York more than triple that are done with actually a card or a mobile phone. So almost 1 out of every 10 face-to-face transactions in New York now are actually contactless. And a lot of that is really being driven by the great work from MTA. People walk into the subway, they tap to pay in the morning, they go to get their coffee, they go to a pharmacy, a grocery store, and they use contactless again, and it's really accelerating the adoption. We've really seen that around the world, and we're really expecting to see that here in the US. And New York is really the epicenter of all that, which is just incredibly exciting for New Yorkers, for the tourists that come here, for international travelers who come to this great city in the US. Just in the public pilot alone, we saw contactless transactions from 116 different countries, even though we were only live in 16 stations and on 500 buses. So it really is a fantastic experience. It's transformational for New Yorkers, for the people who come here, and we couldn't be more excited for our partners, for New Yorkers on this incredible milestone. With that, there's one other thing I just really wanted to say. I don't know how many more times I'm going to be up here with you, Al. I mean, it is an enormous team at MTA at Cubic. There are thousands of people who are responsible for this great effort, but it wouldn't have been possible without your leadership, your partnership, your passion and excitement for Omni, for contactless payments. We couldn't be more thrilled to be partners with you on this. And just congratulations to you and the entire team. So thank you, that's all I have. I'm going to turn it back over to our partners, Andy and Al from the MTA.
Take your on-topic questions.
Okay.
Al,
Come
Andy,
over, Al.
Dan, Abir, Sarah, or Brent.
Just one other little factoid. I mean, you mentioned there that we've had 116 different countries, which just shows what an international city this is. Also, every continent except Antarctica, and we're working on that. Go for it, Andrew.
Use this system in some other way, Sarah?
So this time next year, every turnstile and every bus will have an Omni validator installed. So this time next year, every single customer will be able to pay a $275 fare this time next year. You don't need an Omni card. Go in your pocket and find your credit card and show me the emblem. That's what you need. You'll get an Omni card, but not right away. Our plan is for you to bring the media. We will introduce Omni cards in February of 2021 from a retail network. I've told you this before, by the way.
And the date, Al. It's Omni time.
Hello. A couple of questions about the Long Island Railroad. Firstly, do you have any estimates on what percentage of LIRR riders also use a bus or subway? And also, can you give any more information about how this would eventually work on the Long Island Railroad? I think 2021 is when the rollout's supposed to come. And you said something that I hadn't heard before, that it would eventually replace all LIR fares. Is that right? So
the commuter rail experience is a little different than a gated system. Commuter rail runs what's called proof of payment. Are you familiar with the current e-Tix app the railroads use? So currently the railroads have an optical character readable e-Tix app that you download onto your phone. A little over 30% of all of the railroads, of their riders, use that app. These readers have optical character capability, meaning they can read that exact same character that is used today. We'll be introducing a version of that as part of Omni in February of 2021, and for the very first time, the railroads will have complete interoperability between New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North. In addition, we will introduce a media that will allow railroad customers to both tap and go on our system, as well as have validation that they paid their fare on the railroads. So it's a proof of payment system on one end, and it's a tap and go on the other. So to answer your question, February of 2021, e-Tix app. Later in the project, we'll replace the media the railroads use today with interoperable media for both railroads and New York City Transit. What percentage? I'd have to defer that to my ops planning folks. But 30% of the customers already are using that e-Tix app.
I wanted to ask about the bus part of this. I noticed when I'm on the bus in the back door, there's a little reader. Can you talk about the plans for the all-door boarding when people in earnest can actually start tapping their way into the bus on the back door rather than having to go through the front. And then also just on a timeline of when the Omni system will get the same functions of like an unlimited ride and things like that.
So SBS is the first element of all-door boarding that we're going to introduce. And SBS will be introduced first quarter of next year. As we roll out our Manhattan bus depot, we will begin to bring online all of our SBS routes. So that will be the first all-door boarding operation we run. All-door boarding is being prepared for systemically. We're wiring up all our buses, and as you correctly mentioned, you're seeing plates installed on 2- and 3-door buses. Those plates will be replaced with validators. There are some technical challenges policy-wise we have to deal with, because as long as MetroCard is accepted and coins are accepted on buses, it'd be difficult to run a proof of payment system. And when you run all-door boarding, you are in a proof of payment system. That's why we're going to introduce it first on SBS, and we have to work out some details on how we introduce it systemically. Ideally, we would like to do it before we eliminate MetroCard and before we get coin down to a minimum so we can eventually phase coin out. We're going to have locations available within a quarter mile of every bus stop where a customer can buy an Omni card and they can use cash. We'll always accept cash. Cash will be placed on an Omni card to be able to pay a fare, but we do have some obstacles technically in terms of how we're going to get all of the cash and all of the Metro cards out of the system so we can do a proof of payment system in our entire bus network. So to answer your question, SBS first, all-door boarding to follow.
And Dan, I'm just going to add to that, Dan. The original plan was not to do all-door boarding. The original plan was to install more of the roadside, the sidewalk, wayside vending machines like you see on SBS routes. We had a discussion about it in my team, and as part of Fast Forward, we recognized that all-door boarding, when we're ready, brings huge benefits to bus riders, because obviously what you get is an exponentially quicker boarding experience. It's something like 20% of our bus journey time is spent at bus stops. So it seemed to us as a team, and Sarah was instrumental in this, that it made sense to bite the bullet, to not do those roadside machines, and to instead spend the money on putting on readers. So that's what we're doing.
When Omni can use like unlimited passes and cash and things like that?
So in February of 2021, we roll out the retail network, and that at that point, we're also introducing our own app. We may be able to do the app a little quicker, perhaps maybe by the end of this year, early next year. And at that point, we'll be able to do what's called linked products. Linked products will allow you to attach your funding source and select whether you would like that funding source to be a 7-day or a 30-day card and or value. So the earliest it's going to happen is early next year, or perhaps February 2021 for sure, with an Omni card that we'll sell from a retail network. Our goal is to keep the schedule and accelerate where we can, but right now February of 2021 would be the latest.
What's the earliest?
Earliest would be late next year in 2020 for an app where you would be able to do a virtual card.
Anything else on topic? Anybody?
Quick question. I see this rollout is sponsored by Chase. Previous ones were MasterCard. Do you need to have a financial institution to fund the installation of these?
No, this contract is completely funded. These partners of ours are giving additional money, and we could always use money, so we take it.
Used for?
Well, we don't want to have to raise the fare. We don't like to get funding from our customers, and every dollar we can get from another funding source allows us to put that towards our expenses.
Is that advertising dollars? Like, what's the money for? What's the deal?
They're paying for advertising, yes.
Okay, thanks everybody on topic. Next thing that we're going to do is principals are going to step over here to the turnstiles. So cameras, you want to get position either on this side or on the other side. There's going to be a little tapping experience, and then they're going to go through. Stills, we need you back, all right? We just need you not in the way, okay? Thank you. And with that, the Penn Station Omni is officially lit up. Step back over with some announcements, all right?
Everyone ready? Okay, so I'd like to just talk about this morning on the 7 line. Because as you know, we had difficulties on the 7 line this morning for the second time in a row. We had problems where trains were losing what's called localization. In other words, the computer system that controls the CBTC system on the 7 line Flushing, trains were becoming delocalized. In other words, the system didn't know where they were. It affected 8 trains this morning. So because we wanted to protect the service and to minimize the disruption to service, we took the decision to run at slow speed. We ran at 25 miles per hour. Up until just now, actually, we've just put normal speed running back in on the 7 line. Now, I was extremely unhappy about that, as you might imagine, not least because, number one, we had a similar problem only a few weeks ago, on the 2nd of December to be precise. We had problems with the transponders on the 7 line, but because also this is a known phenomenon to Thales, who are the system supplier, a known phenomenon that they have known about and have been working on since March of 2019. So this morning, I called in the New York Director of Operations for a dressing down, an extremely robust meeting where it was made crystal clear to him that this situation has to be resolved. Now, let me say straight away, and before anyone gets this idea, let me be crystal clear on this point. This is not a CBTC issue per se. And the reason I can say that with confidence is because you'll know that the the 7 line is not the only line that has CBTC. On the 2nd of December and this morning, under identical weather conditions, the L line, which is a Siemens system, worked flawlessly. We didn't have any problems. The problem isn't CBTC. It is that Thales have used a type of transponder that is vulnerable, it turns out, to slush. So where there is a slushy condition, the system is basically losing the signal between the transponder on the track and the receiver on the train, such that the train becomes delocalized. They have been working on this. Since that March incident earlier this year, they have been doing 2 things. They've been fitting covers. They've been trialing covers to go over the transponders, and a number of them have been fitted. And the good news is where they fitted covers, they appear to have worked fine. They are also working on a software alteration, which is due for the 20th of December, that we believe is the way to iron this problem out once and for all, to rectify it once and for all. And what that does is that changes the way that the train communicates to the track transponder. But again, I want to reiterate, this is not a CBTC problem. This is a Thales problem, and it is Thales's to own. We are going to give you a copy of a letter that I wrote to Thales this morning. And it was written to a guy called Miller Crawford, who is the exec vice president of Ground Transportation Systems. We're going to hand that letter out to you as soon as I finish speaking. But you will see it is pretty damning. You will see that it reflects my anger that our customers on the 7 line endured bad service this morning. It also reflects my ire at the fact that this puts the good name rather of CBTC in jeopardy. Because let's remember also the 7 line has seen a huge uptake in performance since CBTC went in. Not so long ago, the 7 line punctuality was 68%, embarrassing. It's now over 90%. 1 month we hit 96%. We've switched on what's called automatic train operation, and it works really well. Customers say to me, they love the 7 line now, it's fantastic. But what I said to Thales this morning is that counts for nothing, absolutely nothing. I told Thales they should be embarrassed that their competitors' systems on Siemens system on the L line worked flawlessly. I've told them that they're putting in jeopardy their prospects of future work at New York City Transit, because I'm not going to go and buy a system if it's prone to bad weather. So they're pretty chastened. They know that I'm on the warpath about this. They know that I'm furious about this. They have been told in very blunt terms to get the remaining covers, the remaining transponders covered by this weekend when there's more bad weather predicted. They've also been told in no uncertain terms, get that software drop right. I don't want any regression. In other words, I don't want there to be any unintended performance degradation. So that's it. We're going to hand you out the letters. Read them for yourselves. You'll see I'm not messing about. That was an unpleasant meeting for Thales this morning. But again, it's not a CBTC issue. It's a Thales issue with one piece of equipment that, for whatever reason, they selected. Going to the future, and it's kind of topical because only yesterday we had the signaling conference, which I attended. Ultimately, what I'd love to get to is the next generation of CBTC, which features way less even less equipment on the track and on the train. That's for the future. Next generation CBTC is the way to go. But for now, it's incumbent upon Thales to get this thing fixed and to do it pronto, because otherwise, as I said to them this morning, if they don't fix it, there'll be hell to pay. Questions? Andrew.
And we've got 4 more months of winter ahead.
No, absolutely. So obviously, we have to ask questions of our own team. The main question I have of my team actually is, you know, and ultimately I hold myself accountable for this. This problem first appeared in March. We're now in December. Why has it taken Thales so long to get this fixed? But I'll be honest with you, I'll be very frank. I'm kind of kicking myself that I wasn't as much on top of Thales to check in where we were. But A, I shouldn't have to do that. B, I have a team to do that. And C, I have a contractor that's supposed to get these things right. One of the questions I posed to Thales this morning was, you must have systems out there across the world that perform in other snowy countries. You know, and it can't be the case that we're the only ones that suffer this problem. Most of their installations are in places like Hong Kong, Singapore. They do have some installations in other cold countries, but the bottom line is it's unacceptable. You know, when the system was put in, we weren't to know that that transponder didn't work properly. This became apparent in March. We instructed Thales to fix it. They still haven't. I want it done, and I want it done by this Saturday. Paul.
Has there been any talk about any financial penalties that could be imposed on Thales if this continues? And also, you know, many firms that have gotten in trouble with the MTA lately, there's been a threat of debarment. Has that come up at all in any conversations?
Well, don't forget the debarment regulations relate to on time and on budget delivery of a project overall rather than this specifically. But one point I forgot to mention was, and it was pre-planned, and I'm glad it's happening, is this Friday I have another meeting, a book meeting with the managing director for Thales North America. And I've already told the guy I met with this morning that will be #1 on the agenda. And that's the day before the next bad weather is predicted. So I'm not leaving any options unexplored. We'll take whatever action it is to get this thing working properly. Again, again to reiterate, the 7 line does work really well. The punctuality is markedly improved. We're running 29 trains per hour, where previously we were running 25. But this is the Achilles heel of Thales equipment, the transponder. It is not CBTC per se. And anyone who says that doesn't understand the issue.
Hi, Andy. Could you just describe in not overly technical detail, but a slightly more technical detail about what happens, like the transponder's fine, and then how does everything go to pot?
Okay. So the way CBTC works, if you think of conventional signaling, you have line side signals and you have to maintain a fixed block between trains. So the line side signals maintain the safety gap. With CBTC, it's train-to-train communication. But so obviously the computer needs to know exactly where trains are and in proximity to each other. The system also needs to know the speed of the train, because obviously if the train's head's going quickly, the one behind can go quickly. If the one in front slows down, the one behind has to slow down. So the way the system works is the interaction between what are called transponders on the track and receivers receivers on the train, and there's a transmitter function that transmits a signal between the train and the track such that the computer regularly knows where the train is. If a transponder fails, one transponder fails for whatever reason, and let's use today's example, slush. If one fails, it doesn't matter. The system can cope with that. But if multiple transponders fail to identify where the train is, then the train will delocalize. It's a safety issue, if you like, and will tell the control center that train is unidentified, doesn't know where it is. There's no safety issue, but we would have to put the train into manual operation. If it happens to one train, we take the train out of service, no problem. But if it happens to multiple trains, we do what we did today, which is we introduce manual driving and/or slow speed. What we did this morning was introduce a speed restriction. So it's really the interaction between the transponder on the track and the receiver on the train. Only yesterday, we were talking to suppliers, CBTC suppliers, so it's still CBTC, but next generation. My signal expert has brought to my attention next generation CBTC, which has way less equipment on the track and less equipment on the train, which is hopefully the way we'll speed up the rollout of signaling even quicker than fast forward envisaged. Greg.
President Byford. MTA and technology, that sentence and those words sometimes don't go together. So what is different? What is different this time?
Well, I'm not sure I understand the premise of your question. I mean, we were just this morning introducing Omni, which is we're the first transit to go straight to contactless. So I'm not, we've had a spotty record in the past in some cases on technology, but CBTC, the rollout on the 7 line, I'm really pleased with. We've got 96% on-time performance. That's the highest on the system. But we do need suppliers that give us equipment that works out of the box. That's why I tore into Thales this morning, and that's why I've said to them, they've got to get this right. The CBTC, the system itself, the software is working fine. This is the issue here is a single piece of hardware, the transponders. The transponders on the L line, different design, work fine. So I've said to Thales, you should be embarrassed that your equipment failed, whereas Siemens didn't. Andrew.
Clarity. On the 7 line, the vast majority of the stations are above ground and the transponders are outdoors. On the L line, the vast majority of the stations are underground. Is that a component? No. And just as a second question, how many transponders are there on the 7 line, and what is it that the slush is doing? Is it that the second they get wet, they fritz out, or what's happening?
Sure. So, well, first of all, the L line has a fairly hefty section above ground. From Canarsie through Broadway Junction, it's a fair old stretch. We didn't have any problems there. This morning on the 7 line, that related to from 111th Street to 33rd Street. There are hundreds of transponders on the line. The advantage of next generation CBTC, which we're exploring with contractors, is we can have fewer transponders. The specific failure is that there is a communication between the transponder in the track, fitted in the track, in the forefoot, between the rails, and the device, the receiver on the train. There has to be a radio magnetic conversation between the train and the track. It doesn't happen immediately, but as the slush sort of forms on the top of the transponder, that signal becomes it gets interfered with, it becomes patchy. So again, if you lose the signal on one transponder, it doesn't matter. The train keeps going. But if you lose it on multiple transponders, the train delocalizes. In other words, it doesn't know where it is. So we have fitted, Thales had already fitted covers to 40 locations where we had the problems in March, and they have not caused us problems today or the 2nd of December. They were in a race against time to get the remainder fitted. They haven't finished them all. I've told them they must be done by Saturday, come what may. Yeah, I need to check the exact number. We think it can be done. Dan?
Andy, just a question on other issues with the technology. I remember early on with automated train control, there were overrunning stations. There were some other issues. Can you explain how those were addressed, or if they're still outstanding?
No, overruns. In my experience, when you introduce automatic train operation, there's always some refinement, some adjustment that needs to be made to the station. It's not a safety issue, but what you tend to get initially is, even though you've modeled it, there are occasions where the train might slightly overrun the signal. We've ironed that out, and the system is actually working very well. And as I said earlier, as of about 20 minutes ago, we put the full system back in. The trains are now running normally under normal operating speed. Yes, it was. No, what they were doing, so they spent some time developing the cover, because obviously you want to make sure that you've designed it so that it fits properly, but equally you can't put something on that then impedes the signal between the train and the track. So that took a little while to get right. My disappointment with them today, to use an understatement, my ire, my fury with them, was that they haven't finished the job off. This letter, which we're going to give you, tells them in no uncertain terms, get on with it. I want it done.
Thank you.